All right. Hello and welcome everybody to the Super Baka Bros channel and today's stream of Not Enough Time podcast. I'm your co-host Angelo, as always, and with me we have the very crucial second side of the coin. Phil, how are you doing? We couldn't be Super Baka Bros without you.
Good. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of the music you get to listen to, but I don't get to hear. But that's okay. You know, that's fine. That's fine.
That's just the penalty for all the shit you've given me over the years. You can't listen to this hot music. Which everyone that's hanging out with us, thank you for being here, and I hope you appreciate the music. The cool little Spotify curated playlist that I found that allows us to actually play music without getting in trouble with Twitch and the Amazon Overlord. So hope you all like it. Let us know in the chat if you don't think any of the music is bussin', as the kids like to say.
No one says that.
No one does say that. In fact, full disclosure, I drive a school bus for middle school kids, and I think one kid ironically said that to make fun of another kid, and I just like slowly put my cap down and like tried to like slink into the sea because I do say that as a joke, but I think it's to the point where I'm now just saying it.
See, I love the idea that there's some 12-year-old kid on your bus that you've befriended, and you guys are like straight up just best friends,
Yeah.
and he's constantly giving you like this inside information on like what kids are into, what the words they're using, and all that stuff. But secretly, he's purposely feeding you a bunch of bullshit because when he gets off the bus, he goes to his friends and says, "Hey, I totally told him this time that we say bussin', bussin'." And they're like, "What? He believed it?"
That's probably actually the case. And there are a few kids who definitely try to befriend me, but I hope that's not. I hope if all the kids that are on my bus, if we're watching this, first of all, don't watch this. Second of all, don't be trolling me. I drive you safely to school.
They're live action trolling you. Like it's the internet's so like yesterday. Like they're trolling people in the real world now.
They are smart enough to do that, but I respect it. I respect that hustle.
Good.
So for everyone here, as you can see in the middle of our overlay, we're doing wrestling game tier ranking. We did a Legend of Zelda tier ranking a few weeks back, and I thought it was really successful, really fun. People in the chat, you know, definitely said their opinions on what they thought of our ranking and also where it should have been ranked. So we're going to continue that trend, and let us know when we go through a game. If you think that our ranking is garbage, please let us know. All right. The rule are you offended by that, Phil?
Not offended, but you know, like we can. There's other ways to handle it. You can just let us know your opinion before you get offended. We can kind of include that in the conversation. Like we don't have
Just
to
drop the poop emojis whenever we rank something. That's all we want.
poop.
And then we'll do the not like this emoji that we've created. So in segue into that, if you are watching this and you're not following, hit that follow button. It's absolutely free, and you get the cool not like this emoji.
What are you doing?
So, and if you know what that is, you're a real one. As the 12-year-old kid on my bus let me know, that's the cool thing that people say.
Friends. Gotta get out more.
Yeah. Without further ado, I say we just get into this and get the games going. So what we're doing is a variety of different franchises: WWE, WCW. Guess you'd say NWO as well because they're tagged along with the WCW game. Virtual Pro Wrestling, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Def Jam. Spoilers. We're going to be doing a Def Jam game, which I have to say, Phil, you created this list, and I'm so happy that you put that in there. It's one of the most enjoyable. There's some people that might say it's a fighting game, not a wrestling game, but I think it's one of the most enjoyable wrestling games in this group. So I'm super excited to talk about that.
Yeah, you know, I was kind of putting together a list. You know, kind of full disclosure, we don't have a very wide, you know, breadth of experience with very different wrestling games. Like we definitely have like a heyday. Like most of the games that we're talking about are released between it was like 95 and 2000. I think like 10
That's
of
good.
these games are within those 5 years.
Yeah.
So we haven't played a lot. We have one somewhat more recent game, and even that one was out a while ago.
We're almost to 10 years on that one.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I wanted to try and create a little bit of kind of diversity I could. And it is a very good game, too.
And Mom Paul Baca, good to see you in chat, has a really good question. Did we have wrestling names for ourselves?
Oh, the little Mom Pa sponsored Icebreaker.
I love it. It's perfect. Yeah, that's actually a perfect icebreaker too, is people who watch this, we'd like to try to get the conversation going by asking each other a question. I'm going to go first because I'm selfish and I like to hear myself talk. I used to do backyard wrestling. You know, Phil and I used to wrestle in the house and everything, with Quentin as well. And Lamar and everyone else, you know, famously Brian going through the the wall in the other house. But I used to do backyard wrestling with some friends in high school. This guy, Jason, built a ring and everything in his backyard. It was really cool. He had like a tree fort right next to it, so we did jumps off to the top of that. But I had two wrestlers. The first one was Romeo, which is a Shawn Michaels Heartbreak Kid style wrestler. Really not that impressive. My most famous one that I think everyone loved was Garbage Man Stan, which was a Mankind-esque sort of like weird, creepy guy. My manager would like dolly out a garbage can, and then when it got to the ring, I would pop out of the garbage can. I'd be wearing a paintball mask and like coveralls and stuff. So yeah, Garbage Man Stan and Romeo were mine. Phil, what was yours?
Yeah, I guess on the subject of Icebreaker, I was a big fan of Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, so I definitely had a number of different kind of ice variations. Lamar and I were a tag team, so we were kind of, at times we were Ice and Fire, we were Sub-Zero and Pyro. We had kind of one of those things going. And then, you know, kind of within wrestling games, I was a big fan of the Creative Wrestler feature. So I'd create a lot of kind of variations of myself, you know, especially like kind of characters with different kind of move sets, depending on what kind of moveset I wanted to use. So I think I had kind of a version of myself that was Wolverine. It was kind of like a shoot fighter, a guy named Hardcore. You know, obviously kind of like a hardcore wrestler.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple kind of variations on a theme, I guess, more than anything.
I like that, having the different like themed wrestlers compared to the wrestling style. That's really cool. Which actually is a pretty good segue into, we don't know when this is going to happen because AEW's got to get their shit together. But once the game comes out, AEW's new wrestling game, which is based on the wrestling system of a lot of these games that we're going to be talking about, Bill and I are going to be streaming them, and we're going to be doing some pretty interesting stuff with that. Starting off more likely with a whole tag team storyline. I don't know if you call it that, but we're going to be doing some cool stuff, and then culminating to the confrontation that everyone, the internet abroad, is waiting for. Phil wants to get that W against me, and he never has, so hopefully he will. But he and I will be facing each other in the future.
So I see. So you're too afraid to face me in No Mercy or Revenge or any of these ones I've beaten you 1,000 times in. So you're hoping that something will be different with this new game.
Listen, as long as I could actually truthfully say that you've never beaten me in this game, I'm going to push it. I'm just going to...
That's fair, yeah.
You literally have not beaten me in this game. So I'm not lying, man.
That's fair. All right, fair enough.
But be on the lookout for that. Hit that follow button so you have your notifications on for when we go live. Obviously, this is a Monday at noon. We usually don't stream at this time, but life happens, and I'm off this week, so this is a perfect time to do it. So,
yeah, the game you mentioned, AEW Fight Forever, I believe it's called. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, they've had some problems with that.
So it sounds like it might be addressed now, but who knows?
Fingers crossed. Should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But with that all out of the way, let's get into this and start ranking some games. We're going to quickly, just to show you our setup here, as you can see in the middle, we have our little logo. But when we go to rank the games, we have this little tier ranking setup so that you can see where they're at while we're doing it. Dark Throne 17. If WrestleMania 2K for 64 isn't S tier, we're going to have a problem. That is next level. Yes, absolutely. I hope. Actually, let's get on the same page here. Phil and I have to be on the same page with our rankings as we did with the Legend of Zelda one. I'm already there with S tier. Phil might be a troll and try to mess that ranking up, which is going to probably just destroy this whole channel. But WrestleMania 2K 64 is up there for sure. Should we just get this out of the way and do that one first, Phil?
No, but I think because there's a series of those N64 kind of wrestling games that are all they're kind of the same game, but each one kind of builds on what happens from the previous game. So when we get to those, maybe we should kind of agree on how to approach that, because like we did with the Zelda games, we weren't kind of graded on a curve. We were graded on a curve, like we're kind of when this game came out, kind of how we interacted with it. So when we get to those THQ games, we'll have to kind of agree on how we're going to approach that.
Fair. So then, what do you want to start with here? I'm going off of your lead.
Let's go ahead and do release order, because I think it'll have kind of a natural flow to it, especially once we get to those games.
Okay. So we're doing WrestleMania arcade game.
Yes.
All right. I got the cool little logo. This game, just real quick, has a special place in my heart because I remember going to Chuck E. Cheese as a young kid and totally rocking this game out. I believe just Shawn Michaels galore was my go-to. And just looking at the Undertaker on the side of the cabinet, it's just nostalgia. I could taste that taco pizza, I swear.
Man, I have been chasing that taco pizza.
Same here. I want to make it again. I want that taco pizza.
I bet we could find a recipe online.
It's got to be doable. If you can make the Red Lobster, whatever biscuits from Red Lobster, you can make taco pizza. So yeah, WrestleMania arcade game came out in the 90s and 95. Okay, midnight. Very much a fighting game, really. The way that it was kind of set up, like an open-ended fighting game.
Yeah, very like button masher.
Exactly. But I enjoyed it, especially like throwing people against the ropes and knocking them out of the ring and everything. Because it didn't have a Royal Rumble feature on it.
I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, it was an arcade game, so it was always kind of 4 people. But I feel like maybe it did. Like maybe that was the game. It was just, It's
just funny because it's WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember feeling kind of nonstop, kind of like the Ninja Turtles game, where like you'd die and then someone else would kind of tag in and take your place.
Exactly. Do you want to rank this one first, or do you want me to go for it?
I did my rankings and then I reset it, so I don't remember what I decided. Do you have like something kind of written out, or are you figuring it out?
I'm going by feeling, man. I'm wild card, straight up Charlie Day. I am going by feeling on all of these games.
All right, why don't you set the pace?
Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna give this a C.
Okay.
It's definitely, there's the nostalgia factor is high on this one for sure. But like I said, when you go back and look at it, it really is very much like a button mashing kind of fighting game. Just you can go up and down in the ring itself. So the nostalgia probably rates it higher than it really should. And there's not much to it, to be honest with you. There's really not a lot of depth in this. But I do appreciate the game a lot. What do you rank it at?
I like that. Yeah, I think we had recently, they did a remake of like an old school Ninja Turtles game that we'd played, and that was something that kind of stood out to me. Was I enjoyed the game, but I didn't have a very long leash with it. I found myself getting kind of bored with it relatively quickly.
Yeah,
because they really didn't add anything, and I kind of appreciated that they just basically, just remade the game exactly what it would have been. But I feel like this game would have a similar kind of. I would love to play this for like 30 minutes, like with my son, and then then
never again.
I'm probably good.
Yeah.
So let's go. Do we don't have any sound effects this time though, do we?
Oh, that's right. We'll do the old excuse me princess sound effect. I don't know. I don't have any other. It doesn't really work, does it?
I have some that could have worked too. I should have thought about that. I have like a wrestling, like a ring bell.
While we're talking, maybe I'll. No, I'm not gonna. Producer Steve, Steve Dave, if you could get that going, that would be appreciative. So yeah, we got WrestleMania Arcade ranked at C. I think that's fair, to be honest with you. I don't know too many games are going to be F, but you never know.
I put one on the list, thinking that it might. So we'll see how that goes.
Fair.
I'll purposely put one on.
Oh shit! I hope that we're on the same page of what that could be. Actually, so yeah, we're gonna go from there. What will be the next game that we're gonna be doing?
Oh, I want to see which one you thought.
I don't want to, dude. I don't want to pick the.
So 1 year later, actually, and most of these are released in the fall.
Wow, 1 year? Are you serious?
Yeah, 1 year later. WWF In Your House.
Wow, that's not what I thought. No, that actually makes sense. Holy crap.
Yeah, well, because really, when you look at it, this game is almost an exact copy of the WrestleMania game, the arcade game that we just talked about. It's the exact same kind of game mechanisms. They just, they updated roster. They kind of added a couple more because the game, both of these games are kind of goofy, kind of cartoony, kind of over the top. So added some more of those features as well.
Fair enough. I'm wondering if this is your F rank game because I honestly, it's funny. The In Your House ads for wrestling at this time are so ingrained into my brain because of how much they really wanted to push the In Your House brand on you. But I did not like this game at all. And I think the fact that the arcade game was in a Chuck E. Cheese probably lends a little higher of a ranking compared to this one that I don't think there was an arcade version of it. I'm pretty sure there wasn't. And we definitely didn't have this game bought.
We rented, we played it, we rented it.
Yeah. So not the greatest nostalgia memory.
See, that's really interesting because it really is like the exact same game. Like it came out a year later. They didn't do anything new. They just added new wrestlers and new arenas.
Maybe a new arena visuals for the ring or something because they had In Your House everywhere on that.
Yeah, because the arcade game was like an actual arcade game. It wasn't released on consoles. So this was them taking that game and adding it to consoles. So that's interesting, this idea that even though they're basically the exact same game, that the experience playing one in the arcade in kind of the public setting as opposed to at home would have such a big effect on the rankings. I like that. That's kind of interesting.
What do you put this game as?
My lazy answer was C because they're the same game, but I think I think maybe docking it 1 grade might be fair. Since it is the same game for the most part, but it lacks that kind of special experience playing it. Maybe 1 grade down might be fair.
I'm looking at the list. I'm not to spoil anything because I want to say there's something for sure that's going to be F ranked. And I'm looking at the list of games and I don't see what else would be, to be honest with you. For sure F rank. There's only one other one. I'm gonna say this is probably a D as well. F rank is probably a little too rough, especially like you said. It's essentially the same game. Yeah. So I will agree with you on this. This is a D. Let's throw it in there. Final answer.
Okay. I like that.
And people in the chat, let us know what you feel about these games. They are, I don't know, some of them I know probably people haven't even played. So I totally get that.
We have a very specific kind of audience that would even, give a shit about this video because it really is we're rating games that came out over the course of a 5-year span. You
know what though? I feel like my Twitter following and people who I follow are very much the Magic Gathering, wrestling, D&D. It's all a circle in the Venn diagram. So yeah, In Your House is a D. So going chronologically.
What do you think
Is it
next?
Warzone?
No.
Oh shit! Then I have no idea.
Next is WCW versus NWO World Tour 1 year later in 1997.
Wow, what a vast increase of quality compared to just 1 year.
1 year.
Man, I have to say this straight up. This game, when I think there's a few games that just straight up remind me of the N64. Obviously, Mario, GoldenEye, but this
Ocarina.
one, yeah, Ocarina. This one very much is a lot of our childhood growing up playing this game. Just seeing the box cover, you know what I mean? Like it's straight up hitting the nostalgia vein. And going to that point, looking at the ranking itself, I'm gonna give it an A, man.
Okay, so this is you know, we talked about kind of WrestleMania 2K. This is where we kind of had this conversation because this is the first of the THQ wrestling games. You know,
Hard
this,
grapple, soft grapple.
Yeah, the games that, you know, the people from our generation talk about. Oh, like back in my day. And this is the gameplay, kind of the mechanism, the system that the new AEW game is supposedly has for their for their game. So how do we approach that? Because, you know, if you look at this game versus, say, the last game they did, which is No Mercy, like obviously No Mercy has a lot more going on. It's a lot more like, it's, you know, each time they just kind of improve on it. Should we kind of not really rate it as far as that's concerned, or should we just like purely in the moment when we played it, like how much of an impact did it have?
I think a little bit of both, to be honest with you. It has to go into play. Thinking of that, I'm gonna probably rate it at a B. It definitely has a lot going for it, especially because it had the two different the WCW and NWO sort of like conflict side of it. And it's kind of interesting because obviously there was a lot of faction in wrestling even prior to this, but no video game really took advantage of that in like the core mechanic of the game itself. I would give this a B if I'm being fair.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough because like if I'm ranking purely on kind of in the moment when it was released, like what the experience was like, I'd probably go A. But yeah, I think if we're kind of taking the context of, you know, everything else that happened, kind of B is probably fair. I mean, we have WrestleMania.
Still a very good game.
It is, yeah. I mean, like if I had never played the other games, I just jumped into that one. Even after playing some of the more recent games, like I would still go crazy for it.
Yeah.
But you know, we have WrestleMania ranked as a C. So having it one grade above that, how do you feel about that?
I think if I'm trying to do a little bit of comparing to the others on a curve and comparing them by themselves, I think a B is probably fair.
God, see, it's interesting because now I'm thinking about some of the WWF games that come up next, because they're not THQ. You know what? Let's say this. Let's go ahead and put it as a B, but we'll give ourselves the freedom. You know, as we go along, if we need to adjust
change.
stuff, we can change them up.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm down with that. So let's go ahead and fancy tier little imagery that we have going on for as a B. It may change. That's why we have it. You know, nothing is static in this world.
Set in stone.
Because
I feel like after we get through some of these WWF games, some of their early games, that, you know, things might change a little bit.
Yeah, there's one that I'm very much looking at. I'm probably going to rank an F now that I realize it. You being the, you know, the bookkeeping chronological timekeeper.
Come on, give it to me. So which one do you think is next?
I think it's Warzone, maybe?
Yeah, nice.
Okay, it's got to. That's what I figured.
Check out the big brain.
Got to be in between.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm ranking this an F. I hated this game with a passion, especially because of looking at WCW and NWO. Can we just call it World Tour? It's so much fucking.
It's World Tour.
It's so much to say.
And again, this is 1 year later. This is 1 year after WCW, or after World Tour.
It's just such a stark contrast to the game. Like, obviously the systems are different, but like it's just so janky and stiff of a game to play. And it sucks too, because look at the, you know, you look at the artwork, the box work, and it was, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was close to the heyday of, you know, his reign as the top wrestler. And I love Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I cannot stand playing this game ever.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. You know, I think, like you brought up the jank, I think that's part of it too, that maybe the THQ games don't get enough credit for, is kind of like the animation.
Yes.
You know, there's such a naturalness to the animation. Like you almost kind of feel the acting. Like when you get to create your own wrestlers, you get to choose moves, and they'll have multiple versions of the same moves, like multiple different power bombs. And within each one of those, like there's a different kind of, you know, personality expressed through the way they do the moves. There's a lot more finesse in those, and in this one, in Warzone, yeah, it doesn't feel like you're there. Like you don't really kind of get that kind of visceral experience.
I feel like you said powerbomb. The best way to describe it is DDTs. There's so many different DDTs that different wrestlers do. The way that they pull them off, or suplexes as well. Mm-hmm. And you're right. You know, THQ, especially in the later ones, like the flavor of the different ones, you could just feel it and see it. Warzone did not. It was a copy paste for almost every single move. Like they had the different moves and the variety of them, but there was no. Sorry, I just sneezed bad. I'm getting so upset here. I had to sneeze. There's no differences between them, so I'm putting this at an F for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think?
I can go with that.
I'm putting it at first F.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that always come to mind for me is like they had a generic kind of like just standing kind of animation with like these hands that like didn't even have fingers, like they were just kind of like, you know, like very rigid.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the quintessential kind of Warzone.
Which is funny too, because like we're going back and forth here. We have this is now the third Acclaim wrestling game, and we have one THQ wrestling game, and hands down, Acclaim has had the worst wrestling games just off the bat.
I mean, yeah, there's not gonna be any THQ games that are lower than B.
No, I don't see either. I don't see them.
There's not gonna be any Acclaim games higher than C.
Wow, Acclaim might be the lower rated ones out of all of them, because spoilers to Def Jam, I definitely rate Def Jam way higher than, although Def Jam is THQ, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go screw yourselves, Acclaim. What are you doing? Are they even making games anymore? I gotta check that out.
No.
All right, going on to the next one. So we got F. Oh yeah, 2004. Get out of here. Get the out of here. Acclaim got destroyed back in 2004, which is probably fair. No, sorry to the workers and everything, but you know, definitely not a good company to work for. Okay.
So which one's next?
So stop doing this, Phil.
I love this. Come on.
This is your let's see here. I'm gonna say WWF Attitude.
No. So actually, it works out nice. Kind of spoiler alert. It kind of goes back and forth now. So.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
THQ.
Yeah. So
was it Revenge?
Was in the summer of '98. Now we're in the spring of '98 with Revenge. Yeah.
Okay.
With
Revenge. Fair enough. Okay, that's fair. Dog barking in the background. So yeah, WCW NWO Revenge definitely continuing on the conflict between WCW and NWO, which honestly at the time really almost sunk WWE. It was that compelling of a storyline.
Man, you are really hitting hard on this whole like WCW NWO angle. I feel like you're almost like working for them, like you're trying to get the rivalry going back again.
I feel like Eric Bischoff had something going on. I'm telling you. I saw an interview with him recently, which I can't stand the guy personally as a human being. But he talked about. I'm trying to get a job, Eric. That's not the best way to do it, but
No.
He was talking about how much that they were just beating, Raw on viewership and everything, and there was a executive for TBS that just completely sunk their momentum with how they wanted to go about advertising to children and everything. And it was super compelling to listen to him talk about it. Like he basically the conversation was the moment that he knew that WCW was not going to succeed. And like, that's what he attributes to is the executive saying that they want to be more family friendly and this and that, and knowing that it was just going to sink the whole momentum that they had. And he was right. So, Eric, give me a job wherever you're doing. A podcast, I think you have? I don't know. Just give me a job, bro. Personally, can't stand you, though. I don't know what to rank this. I'm not going to rank it higher than a B. I'll tell you that much.
Really?
No. Yeah, I prefer World Tour over Revenge, for sure.
I kind of prefer this to WrestleMania, if I'm being honest.
Holy shit.
I think that this one, yeah, I like this one a lot. This
Wow.
one for me, maybe even more so than like No Mercy or some of the other later games, really exemplified them being able to kind of get like the character and like the the personalities across in the game.
I can see that.
Like the images, the animations, taunts. Yeah, I don't know. I like this one quite a bit.
Like Saturn is looking at me. No, not Saturn. Who the fuck is that?
Raven?
Raven, thank you. God damn it. Saturn's that ball guy. Yeah, I think Raven's looking at me right now, judging me for what I just said. I'm gonna stick with it though. I'm putting it as a B.
I'm putting it as an A.
What do we do then? Should we?
I don't know.
Oh, you want it to be an A so bad. I can see it.
I do. I mean, if nothing else, like I think, like let's say this, like if we kind of have our own preferences, you'd have to give it credit for, again, just being kind of the next step up. Like they took the World Tour game, and there's nothing that's in there that's not in this game, and really just kind of advanced it, took it to the next level. There's creative wrestler in this. There is not. It's pretty limited, but there's no creative wrestler in World Tour.
Okay, so just to give a quick recap, because Bakatron just showed up and is watching WrestleMania 2000 intros, which some of those are really, really good.
Yeah.
And actually, to use the actual resources that we have over here, as you can see in our ranking, we put WCW NWO World Tour, or just World Tour, at a rank of B.
I'm gonna agree now to WCW versus NWO,
I know, I'm gonna
and we still do it every single time.
Go fuck yourself.
It's just the name of the game. Like it's not. I don't know.
I know. I understand. I'm just being a douchebag. WrestleMania arcade game, we put at a C. We got WWE in your house at a D, and we have Warzone at an F. So right now we're talking about Revenge, which Phil puts at a high rank of A. I put at a B. He's selling me for sure, especially when you consider that this is the first foray into the creative player, because you're right, World Tour did not have that.
Correct.
I will say, for the time being, I'm putting little asterisks next to the Revenge. It can stay at A for now. All right? But as we continue, because as we continue, it may change. I'll go ahead and throw that up there. God, I wish we did have like a sound effect of like climbing a ladder, maybe.
I mean, there's lots of sound effects from these games. We probably could have found something. This is the second time we've done these tier ranking lists. We'll just have to make sure to, get that stuff together next time we do them.
For sure. But yeah, that's for now. Let's say it's an A. Does that work for you?
Well, yeah, that's where I wanted to be.
You son of a gun. I feel like I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this stays. It may not stay there.
I have control over the list. It's got to stay there.
True. You can do whatever you want. That's Damn it! You set
There
this
we
up
go.
perfectly. So let's
Oh, you're
go.
wrong.
Are you changing it?
I put it up. I put it back.
They better not. Don't put that as. There should not be
I did
too many
sarcastically.
games that are S.
I think S might be the heaviest tier, if I'm being honest. If I'm looking forward.
Yeah. All right. So we have chronological. I have no idea at this point. If we're doing Revenge and then it goes back, Attitude would be next.
Yep. Next, just 1 year later. Crazy, man.
Dark Throne coming with the truth. I feel like we might have some confrontations here. If that's an A tier, WrestleMania 2K should be SSSS plus tier. God, Dark Throne, what are you doing? Like, maybe you could be the Super Baca Bro and kick Phil out of here if we can't agree upon this. But no, I think this is going to be really interesting because the Zelda one, for the most part, we kind of were on the same page on a lot of this. I'd have a little bit of comfort.
I mean, even in this one, we haven't been even more than like one grade apart from each other.
Fair. I am multitasking and looking for wrestling sound effects. They're not great. I will say that.
All right, we'll get it next time. That's our bad.
Yeah. So is Attitude, not Attitude.
Yeah.
Attitude is the next one.
WWF Attitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember this one had the better creative player, not compared to Revenge, but it had actually a decent creative player.
Revenge.
I think that, to be fair, this is probably the higher rated one out of any of these Acclaim wrestling games. I don't know how high I would
Yeah, that's interesting.
rate this. You know what? That's so funny that Dark Throne just said that. I'm looking at these different sound effects, and that is one of the, I don't know if we have the actual rights to play that music, but Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy is the one that I'm looking at. And I would love to play it because that's my favorite wrestler of all time.
You know, yeah. Well, because again, it's kind of similar to the THQ games in that it's kind of the next step in the evolution of Warzone. So it's better than Warzone, just, you know, for just being fair. I'm kind of looking at a little bit of stuff. Like in this one, they have more stuff because the creative wrestler is much better in this than any of the other games so far.
So far, yeah.
But they also have create a stable. They have a pay-per-view mode.
It is stable? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn, I forgot about that. That is clutch.
I Quit, First Blood.
Free to play was huge. Like,
yeah, I love
you know, growing up, that was a big part of us, like having our own sort of factions and everything. Yeah. And, you know, all of your friends and all of my one friend, you know, it's something that it's something that we definitely like put a lot of our time and effort in, more so, I think, than even the wrestling side of the game. I'm going to put this as a B.
Oh, I was going to say C.
Are you really?
So let's compare it to World Tour. I mean, I
think the creative player puts it up there. The mechanics of it, not so much.
Yeah, gameplay is shit.
Gameplay is not great, but I remember just putting so much time into it just because of creative player. It's definitely better than WrestleMania Arcade. I'm gonna say that right.
Okay, I can go with that.
But just that alone makes me feel like
it
has to be higher than WrestleMania Arcade.
You could say that it's a better game than World Tour, just in that it has a lot more. Obviously, the gameplay is a huge factor that makes up for World Tour, because World Tour is a relatively basic game.
Yeah.
But I mean, the gameplay is amazing. That's
my opinion. I'm at a B. Where are you at? You're there with it?
I threw it up there already, man.
I'm not looking at the screens. Fuck yourself. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll say that the entrances, I remember those were pretty good in these games too.
Whatever. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because they like put time and effort into, because a lot of, you know, especially World Tour, the entrance was you came out to like the first part, and then I believe that was it, or did you go all the way down to the ring? One of those games was like that, where like they just walk out to the first part of the entrance, and then That's to they're already in the ring.
Yeah, I think most of these early THQ ones were like that.
But later on, they did the whole getting to the ring, getting on the top, raising your arm, whatever it is. But I like that, like changing the music, the different animations.
And pyro.
And why aren't we playing a wrestling game right now?
After today off, I might have to now.
Seriously, we got to figure out how to get that damn emulator working.
I know.
It's just not gonna though. All right, so Attitude. No, wait. Yeah, Attitude's the one we just did, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, brain fart. Attitude at a B. Please don't ask me what the hell is the next game, you piece of shit. I don't know what it is.
So the THQ games had been with WCW, but then they, that contract ended, so they moved to WWF. So the next one is WCW Mayhem. In the same year, actually, the same year as Attitude.
Wow. Oh, damn. Full disclosure, I went through this list last night. I'm going to change the tone of my voice. I went through this list last night, and as I was adding these graphics that Phil so graciously made, and I got to WCW Mayhem, and as I saw Bill Goldberg's punchable face, thank you for the music, Spotify. This is so perfect. I knew at that moment that I was going to rank this game as an F. I hate this game so much.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so funny too because they had the best games. They had two like all-time games with World Tour and Revenge, but they lost to THQ, moved to EA, and wow, like it's like we talked about Warzone, like the jank and just being just so shitty. Like it's very much on par with Warzone.
And you know what's funny? What Bakatron just said, got the N64 updated, on the Switch emulator thing. No wrestling games. That's a miss. Nintendo.
I obviously it's biased, but I was reading an article talking about how like the perfect game they could add to that is No Mercy with online multiplayer availability.
Oh, it'd be over.
Oh my god, people would play the hell out of that.
Yeah, and they added GoldenEye, which it took so long for me to just get the controls the way I needed to. It's so weird. But what are you doing, Nintendo? I know you're watching this. You're a longtime watcher, viewer of our podcast. Get this shit together.
Yeah,
it probably is licensing. You're absolutely right, Dark Throne.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But I mean, it'd be good for the recent WF wrestling games haven't been very well received. So it could be a way for them to kind of get people back on, in their good graces with their games. Like, get this new generation playing this like classic game, kind of get them interested in wrestling games again. Don't make a crappy game.
Agreed, 100%. At least we can agree upon that. Where are you putting this as far as?
Yeah, we don't have to spend much time on this one.
No, okay, good. Yeah, because
it's just.
You know what's kind of interesting, and I don't want to just keep crapping on Goldberg because he is such a horrible wrestler, so much so than some of the other copy versions of him. But you can almost say like the downturn to WCW as a whole, whether video games or the viewership, kind of like peaked and then went down after he showed up and kind of took over as the main card.
Yeah, I see. I feel like it's not really his fault. I think him losing the title was kind of the beginning of the end for WCW because he was incredibly popular and like they were
super popular.
Really well. So for me, I feel like him losing the title the way he did was kind of the beginning of the end.
Did you remember how he actually specifically lost it?
Yeah, because he was still undefeated. He was a heavyweight.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Having this whole like undefeated, legend built around him. I think ultimately he's going to lose eventually, and the just the downside of that is so negative.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of why he was so popular was because of the streak. So it's a tricky. It's kind of tricky to navigate that. He was against I think it was Hogan. But the whole NWO was there. They ended up like interfered in the match a ton. They hit him with the cattle
Oh,
prod.
that's right. Oh,
Oh, no, maybe it
yeah.
was Kevin Nash. He lost to Kevin Nash.
Yeah, but even still, there was interference. There was a bunch of interference.
Yeah,
Man.
that was kind of the beginning
really-
of like that and the finger poke of Doom and a lot of just like overbooking matches. That was the beginning.
Wow,
of it. And I
I
think Vince Russo was
completely-
part of all that. So
That's very telling, then.
that's really the reason that they went down.
Wow. Yeah, Ted Turner, man, it's so funny to think about back in that day how much he really had just like the reins of what was going on compared to toward the end of it. It was not at all.
No.
But yep, that is what it is. That's how it goes. All right, so we got Mayhem. Jesus, I already forgot the name of that game. That's how bad it was. WCW Mayhem, so janky, so F tier. What do we have next? Oh, Keeper of Games.
Well, now it gets interesting because we'll see if we lose an audience member. We got near 1999 WrestleMania 2K.
Dude, so here's the deal. I'm gonna be fully upfront with the viewers and you, Phil. There was the time period of 1999 going into Y2K and playing video games in my life is probably, I mean, it's not the greatest time of my life because I have a child and amazing family and partner. But that is definitely second tier, the greatest time of my life, period. So I am ranking WrestleMania 2000 as S tier, flat out.
Yeah, I was reluctant to do that at first, but because now we're getting to the point where like all these THQ games are amazing. If you wanted to kind of differentiate them from each other, we probably could. If we just wanted to say like obviously, No Mercy is better than WrestleMania, so we have to have in different levels. But I think
I think No Mercy's creative player is probably better than
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
But I'll say this too: there are some things that are actually better about WrestleMania than No Mercy.
Lay down.
Straight to the entrances. The entrances in No Mercy, they really streamlined them. They also limited. I know this is kind of super nerdy and like why should anyone care? But the height differential between the wrestlers, they mitigated it in No Mercy. So like when you
Did they really?
Yeah. So like in WrestleMania 2000, like you really got a better. It felt more kind of immersed. Like you felt like when you're fighting the Big Show, you felt like I'm fighting this really big guy. Whereas in No Mercy, they kind of diminished the differential between kind of heights of some of the wrestlers.
It's not a good idea to do that.
Yeah. Plus, too, I think like WrestleMania. This was the first WWF game for THQ. So, like, if we're factoring in our experience playing the game, like we probably, we're talking about like playing games with like Nick and Brian and like kind of our larger group of friends. Like this is probably the game that we played more with other people, even more than No Mercy.
Yeah. And that's a good point, especially what Dark Throne just said about playing that, going to friend's house,
Yeah.
and then playing in real life, because there was so much of the time when people were playing it, but then other people were wrestling each other in real life while people were playing it. You know what I mean? And so it added this like atmosphere, this whole like experience that you definitely didn't get with any of the Acclaim wrestling games, because it was more of like, I want to get through this game so I can get onto something else in my life. Whereas this whole experience was happening while we were playing the THQ WWE wrestling games. It's a weird time in my life that getting powerbombed onto a couch was like an enjoyable part of my life, man.
Yeah, because that's the thing too is, with it being the first one, we were playing it with and playing with other people. Some of the people we mentioned weren't even wrestling fans. Like I felt like it was, like so kind of inclusive to people even outside of kind of wrestling fandom, could kind of jump in and like really have a lot of fun playing it.
So what are we doing then? Are we putting this at S tier?
We know what we're doing.
All right. Puts it at F tier just to break the whole fucking
Just trolled everyone.
chaos, like the Joker over here. Very, very good. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Yeah, custom wrestlers. Like, seriously, so many custom wrestlers. Bill, honestly, we're gonna get to the Virtual Pro Wrestling, but like your roster of created wrestlers on that is so impressive that it could be its own wrestling game.
Oh,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, all right. I mean, at this point on, I think the created wrestlers are all basically the same, and they're all really good, amazing. I even there's less level of kind of personalization in these THQ games than the modern ones, obviously, because like in these modern games you can like download artwork and put it on your wrestler.
Yeah.
But there's just something about the created wrestler in these ones that I still prefer.
Oh damn. Stream dropping? What's happening here? Oh, that was janky. Sorry about the technical. My internet went to red for a second there. Sorry about the lag, everyone.
We gotta hurry up through this then. Let's go.
Holy crap! I've never had it. It didn't drop frames, just the kilobytes. Wow. Apologies. That must have been rough. I was looking at it up above my head, and it just like lagged for a while. Holy crap! Sorry about that. Hopefully it doesn't do that again. It looks fine now. It's at 4,000 kilobytes, so it should be good. But Mompaw's battery is going to go dead, so we'll definitely get through these. So next up we have. So if we did WrestleMania 2000, man, I feel like No Mercy's probably next.
Virtual Pro Wrestling 2.
Really? Is that how old that game is?
Yeah, 1 year later, year 2000.
That is amazing. Holy crap. I thought that game came out way after, like, you were moved out and everything.
Yeah, before No Mercy.
So there's a lot we could talk about this game. There's a lot of like flavor and characterization, or like character creating, that is like really polished. This was hard for me to get into because of like navigating the menus at first was really tough, to be honest with you, Phil. I'm just going to be completely upfront.
Yeah, that's fair.
It took a while, but once we got into the game and wrestling, I feel like the animation is probably the best it's ever been, is this game. I'm going to give it an A because there's a few things that limit my experience with the game itself, but at the same time, I can very easily be talked into an S. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, I will stab you if this is not being an S. I sometimes prefer this to No Mercy even.
Yeah,
this is a very good game, and like obviously they all have kind of similar foundation, and they're not entirely different from each other. But I think the big thing with this one too is it's made for a Japanese wrestling kind of fan base, so there's just some slight differences in this, like more so than in kind of the WWF versions of the game. They have like a shoot fight kind of system in place. There's a couple other kind of game mechanics I can't remember, but and I think too, just as someone who's not a wasn't really kind of plugged into Japanese wrestling, it was kind of fun to play with a roster I wasn't as familiar with. There'd be kind of random people like Vader, or I think Ultimo Dragon might be in there, or like Hayabusa, people I'd kind of like heard about but wasn't overly familiar with. There was something kind of that felt very kind of special about kind of the experience.
Yeah, and like I said, the navigating the menus probably isn't the biggest reason why it should be ranked lower, considering the fact I just don't know Japanese. But God, it's such a polished game, even compared to the other THQ games. It really is. And I'll say it's an S. That's fine. Like, we're gonna go back to one of the other games, and I'm gonna talk you a different ranking out of it. So I just want you to remember this for later. that we can definitely put that as an S tier. I won't even say for now. It should stay there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good game. I think that, and we talk about entrances a few times. The entrances on this are very different because in Japan they handle them differently. It's had its own kind of charm to it, because like your music plays and you're literally in your locker room and you're
that's right.
Yeah, you're just kind of standing there while the music plays, just kind of psych yourself out. You walk out and then you're in the ring, kind of like doing a little dance, and they kind of call the names out. Like it just feels special. Like it's all kind of unique.
And there was a WrestleMania, I think it was WrestleMania, and it was Stone Cold entrance, and it was him way in the back, and he like walking for a long time, and like people like waving to him, and him just getting ready. And then as he's going to walk out and that glass breaks, like that shit is hype right there. Like I'm getting chills just thinking about it. And I think wrestling games need to take more of that into consideration when they're creating their video games, because it's that little shit that really gets you to. It's not just the mechanics of how the games like play out and everything. It's all of it's the atmosphere. It's sports entertainment, literally.
Yeah, it's an immersion.
When's that AEW game coming out? Let's go. All right. Virtual Pro Wrestler 2. We got to put that's definitely S tier. So we're going to go next game. This is really rough for me. I'm going to say No Mercy probably.
Yeah, same year. I think there was three.
Wow. THQ just pumping out games.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough because there's a lot going on for this game that has to be S tier. I don't want to go the other route. I want to see if we could talk our way to not making it S tier and see if that's even possible. Not that I want it not to be S tier. I just feel like there's so much from what already was building upon it and then making it even better that there's no way it shouldn't be S tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't see how. I'm trying to think, because I mean, even nowadays, people still hold this up as like one of the greatest wrestling games of all time. So what, in your mind, what would you feel like would be the kind of the worst parts of the game, or like the biggest kind of reasons not to like it?
Some of the roster of wrestlers wasn't my favorite. I mean, this is when they had I believe like Saturn and some other people were in the game that I really did not care about. And I could be wrong very easily, but I just looking back, I remember that it wasn't like my favorite roster of wrestlers compared to WrestleMania 2000. Beyond that, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like the what's it called? When somebody goes to grapple and you like knock it out of your hands, like was a lot cleaner than definitely World Tour, but probably even more so than WrestleMania 2000. Like the snap of it was so clean. I just remember thinking like when you pull that off, that shit was so satisfying.
Yeah, man. I mean, everything is just kind of like polished and just kind of taken up a notch. The running grapples. I think running
grapples.
That might have been in the Virtual Pro Wrestling too. I can't remember, but
for sure was in Virtual Pro Wrestling as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Gotta be S tier, dude.
We could just kind of save ourselves some time.
Yeah,
it's a great game. I mean, okay, maybe this. Let's take one quick angle. So, people of our age, to a large degree, kind of cherish this game. We talk about it's better than games that are coming out now.
Mid-20s.
Huh?
We're in our mid-20s.
Yeah, of course. 20 years ago.
What? Oh shit. Oh shit. Anyways, keep going before I start crying.
But as much as you can, kind of put yourself into the shoes of, say, like Zidane. I don't know if he's into these kinds of games, but if he were to play this game right now, like, what do you think would be his biggest hangups?
Probably just the combat, like the system itself. getting familiar with like how to wrestle, that sort of thing. It's tough because we had such a buildup of these games to the point where like if we pick up a THQ game, we could just play it. But somebody, you know, a teenager nowadays who is so much more shooter-based games would probably have a you know, a bit of time getting used to the grapple, soft grapple, whatever system. But even still, it's so intuitive compared to other wrestling games. I feel like not even as much as you might think.
Yeah, I've heard people complain about graphics.
Yeah,
you know, they're not. I kind of like them. I kind of wish they would do take the same approach to the graphics nowadays. Like they go for hyper realistic. I thought of a
kind of takes you out.
Yeah, I've been kind of working on my my own wrestling game in my head for a long time, and I got a little breakthrough. I don't know if I want to say it here. You know, no one's taking my ideas, but
hold on to it.
I'll hold on to that. I'll off stream. I'll mention that to you.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's something kind of nice about like it's a game. Like they're not trying to recreate the wrestling TV show. They're trying to they're not trying to recreate the look. They're trying to recreate the feel of the show. You know.
I do believe this one had the a lot of the outside of the ring stuff, or like talking with other people, if I'm not mistaken.
In the story mode, yeah.
Yeah, there's like a full-on story mode. So it's S tier for sure.
Yeah, I finally 100%ed all of them recently.
Jesus.
Like a year or two ago, not recently, but.
You gotta go back and 100% Breath of the Wild before the second one comes out?
No, I'm doing that thing I mentioned in our last...
Oh, that's right. That's even worse than just going back and 100%ing it, you maniac.
Well, and yeah, we've done a couple of challenges already. Just a heads up, if someone wants to do the same thing, you can't disable autosave on Breath of the Wild, but autosaves will never override your manual save.
Oh, okay.
Which actually works out better because if I'm doing like one of the challenges and I die, I can kind of pick up where I left off. But as long as I don't manually save, that save I made, you know, a long time ago, where I'm finished with the plateau and I'm, you know, in the Temple of Time, I can start there every time.
Nice. Okay, I like that. Good to know. All right, next game has to be Def Jam.
Yeah.
There's no way, because there's only one other game, and that game sure as hell did not come out then.
Because this is 2003, so definitely things kind of cooled down a little bit after No Mercy.
Which is funny. There's actually two versions. There's two different Def Jam games. We're doing Vendetta. Fight for New York is a really good game as well.
Yeah.
And I actually think that one's more of a fighting game. And the artwork, this has an actual ring in it, which actually makes more sense. Whereas Fight for New York literally is like, I won't say gangs fighting against each other, but that's what it was. You know, they were like gangs and groups, cliques, if you will. But Def Jam Vendetta really brought the THQ wrestling system with the NBA Jam like flair to it. You know what I mean? Like it was really over the top. The moves were just like people would die for sure kind of shit. But I don't know what it was about it that like I spent a lot more time playing that game, not even compared to the other wrestling games, but just games in general than I probably should have. I think that's a statement for most video games. But like there's not a lot of extras to this game, but just going back and playing it over and over again was super satisfying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this one's interesting. I'm curious to where this one's up. Yeah, because and I guess technically the game engine in these kind of what we call THQ wrestling games was technically owned by AKI. I was kind of looking through the wiki on this one. So yeah, it's the same as Virtual Pro Wrestling, the same engine. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this one also does a really good job of like the character. You know, you get to kind of create your own wrestler. You know, you have like different kind of clothes and tattoos and jewelry. And I don't know, I just like that. I like kind of being able to kind of add your own kind of personality. And this one does a really good job of, it's a pretty basic creative wrestler, but it gives you enough kind of options and leeway to kind of do interesting stuff.
and at the same time also had some of the best like voice acting of actual rappers of that time. Like the roster that's in this is really impressive, and had the actual voice actors, our actual rappers doing the voice acting, and the other people who weren't rappers who were voice acting were like big voice actors in the industry as well. So it's a pretty impressive game. I'm gonna say this is a B.
Ooh. My first thought was A.
Yeah.
I think. How do you
mine
feel
too.
about the wait, what?
I said mine too. My first thought was an A2.
Oh. How do you feel about the replayability of it?
I feel like there isn't, but I still would anyways. So I don't know if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like there isn't a lot of reasons why you should go back and replay it. But at the same time, the story was so compelling, I did anyway.
I'm wondering too. We hadn't gotten a kind of a THQ wrestling game for a little while. Like we were getting a new one every single year for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And this one came out kind of 3 years. Nope. Kind of 3 years later. I think my video's messed up.
I was doing something.
So I wonder how much of like we were just kind of at that moment like really primed for getting this kind of a game that kind of uses this engine. Like how much of that do you feel like might have factored into how much we enjoyed it?
Oh, for sure. It is a huge factor of it because you could just, pick it up and kind of play for the most part.
Yeah.
If this had the WWF Attitude Wrestling engine, I sure as hell would not have gone back to it so many times.
No.
Definitely chasing the dragon of that nostalgia, but that's really the core of why you would go back and replay it along with the story and your creative player. It's just a perfect formula.
Oh, yeah, the tough thing is when we start to look at other games in the same tier. So like Def Jam and World Tour. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like they're about the same, or?
Well, then if you look at, say, go one down lower, Def Jam in arcade.
Definitely better in arcade.
Definitely better in arcade. I would say definitely better than Attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, Attitude's tough too. I almost feel like we need to bump that one down.
I'm down with doing that. So we do this. We bump down Attitude, we put in Def Jam, and we live a happier and healthier life.
And then where do you want Def Jam?
I wanted to be with the World Tour.
I go with that. I feel like it's a better game than World Tour in certain senses.
Me too.
But it's pretty, like you said, it's pretty basic. Like, I think one playthrough is probably about all you can really get out of it. Okay.
Buckatron wants a wrestling game with Fortnite-like skins, the type of graphic machine. Interesting.
Yeah. Again, that's actually, I feel like that's almost like the predecessor to that kind of THQ visual style, where it's kind of simplified, almost a little bit kind of cartoony. Yeah. Give me a wrestling game with that. I would take that.
Oh yeah. All right, Stream Elements doing their job, pumping out the Travis Savoy Bandcamp propaganda. Loving it. If you're not watching our Neighborhood RPG streams on Tuesdays tomorrow, you should be. It's tomorrow's stream is going to be amazing.
That's all
I'm going to say.
You and I talked about a story element after yesterday's or last week's stream.
Yeah.
And it makes me so sad because I wish we would have talked about that beforehand, because I feel like I would have played it a little bit different. But I'm excited to kind of take advantage of that kind of backstory going forward. I think that's really going to...
your backstory specifically. Gotcha. Yeah. I feel like you've been kind of playing into it a little bit, whether you realize it or not. But yeah, there is definitely your backstory stuff that is going to be really interesting to see how it pans out, especially in the Curse of Strahd campaign, which is a totally different atmosphere compared to most D&D settings. Right. As much as I'll say is that.
Right.
let's go ahead and get into the last game. I
So which
think
one do you
we
think
have.
is next?
There's only one more game.
Well, which one do you think is next?
WWE 2K16.
Yeah, good job.
I did it.
You did it.
Oh, I
That was
lied. I actually did not look at the artwork of this one when I put it into the thing, and I just popped it up, and I kind of blushed a little bit. Stone Cold over here, looking like a snack. Yeah, Jesus, Stone Cold. Wow, why is Stone Cold on the cover though? That's interesting.
Well, because they do the whole like showcase thing, and this was the one where they had his storyline.
That's
So
right.
You have to kind of
right.
replay through his story. Which I think
I'm
was a big reason
already.
why we bought it.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest reason. I would want to be even interested in this game. So just a bit of backstory. Right before this time period was probably the least amount of wrestling viewership that I had been doing. And when it came out, you got it. I was living with you at the time. And
I think Quentin might have even instigated us getting it.
Yeah, something along those lines. Bakatron, if you're still in the chat, let us know. Yeah, Stone Cold still had it at that point, and probably still does to this day. He came back recently, which just blows my mind, to be honest with you.
Too. He looked good.
He did. There was this whole like, oh, I'm working out to get better, better shape in my life or whatever, which probably is somewhat true, but we knew you were coming back. Bald bastard. Stone Cold, please don't hurt me. Yeah, this game was interesting because we hadn't been really, not even just playing the wrestling video games as much as we had, but also just viewing, like watching wrestling. It was, I'd watch highlights online or, along those lines. Bakatron's on an Undertaker kick, which is definitely up your alley, Phil.
Yeah.
But this was an interesting game. It had more of the realistic visuals.
Yeah.
2K always obviously very realistic looking type of visuals in general. Obviously the NBA game is very popular, or had been popular. But for me, I still can't get around the fighting system of it. What's up, Sebastian?
You say hi? Okay, go play. Yeah, it's tough too. This one is really interesting. I'm glad that we had this one to include in the conversation because it makes us slightly more relevant to whatever almost 10-year-old game. But they have the same kind of game engine for these 2K games, and this is the only chance we've had to. All right. Be cool. So how do you feel about that kind of approach? Let's just kind of go with the gameplay, like the actual game system itself. Like how do you feel about that system?
For me, honestly, it was kind of refreshing, just trying something different for the most part. I really crap on the Acclaim wrestling style wrestling system. But then when this one came out, it was just good to have something different than the hard grapple, soft grapple system. It still wasn't enough though for me to be in love with it. I definitely was entertained by it and enjoyed the experience, but it wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait 20 years later to go back and play that wrestling game like we do with WrestleMania 2000 and the others. But it's still an entertaining game to play for sure. Bakatron's over here tricking his kids like our dad used to do, convincing them that he was Stone Cold versus Tyson. I don't know how that's going to pull off, Quentin. I know we're all kind of losing our hair, but you definitely were not there.
His kids don't know that he was Stone Cold?
Yeah, he was actually Stone Cold back in the day.
The kids are coming in here and causing chaos now.
It's about good time to wrap it up then. But how do you feel about this game?
I don't know. It was kind of nice. At this point, I was still playing No Mercy and Virtual Pro Wrestling and all those games.
Yeah.
This game at least relied pretty heavily on, hitting a specific button at a specific time. Like I know there's a name for that mechanism, but I can't.
Time mechanics.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting, and it kind of creates more you know, the THQ wrestling games rely so much on the grapples, and that can be a little bit limiting. And this kind of setup makes it easier to do, you know, moves that wouldn't include grapples, like like a flying knee strike, or the TKO, or not TKO, RKO, kind of hitting that out of nowhere. I just feel like it relied on it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you had maybe taken, it doesn't have to be THQ system, but I always go back to that, kind of like a simplified version of that system, and added some of those elements, that could have been interesting. But I mean, like obviously, oh god, sorry, I feel like I'm just talking too much.
No, go. I talk too much. If anything, you continue on.
Well, because I mean, obviously, this game has stuff that is so much above and beyond stuff in the other games we talked about. Again, like you can upload images to put on like your wrestler's clothes, or tattoos. You can like upload your own tattoos. The images are much more realistic. There's game match, or like match types and game features. You can play online. Obviously not possible on the Nintendo Switch, on Nintendo.
That'd be impressive.
Yeah. Or even like the showcase, like we're talking about Stone Cold. He's in this game because you get to replay all of his, kind of his important matches in his career, even back into ECW. So how do we feel about this one compared to the other games? That's really the tough part.
I want to give it a C, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I would probably be more fair to say it's a B.
I think so too, yeah.
But my first reaction is a C.
That seems tough. That seems a bit rough. I mean, we can
give it a C, you mean?
Give it a C, yeah.
I'm glad we have one game that's at least a D.
I'm like, how? So, like, say WrestleMania and 2K16.
You mean WrestleMania Arcade?
Yeah.
Definitely 2K16 is better.
How about? Damn. Yeah, that gets tough.
It's tough, dude, because I feel like WrestleMania, to be honest with you, probably is a D. Arcade. And the nostalgia, I think so. I think the nostalgia is keeping it at a C for us, when really we should just let it go. Let it go.
That is tough.
We lost viewers from me just singing that song.
Oh, we did. Yeah, that's tough. But that's fair. I mean, like we said, the In Your House and WrestleMania are kind of the same game, so
they really are. And if you look at Attitude in 2K16, they're of a similar vein of styles. So I think it's a C.
Gameplay is much better in
2K16. Yeah, for sure.
No, that doesn't make it any easier for me. Damn.
Well, really?
Let's say we take, some 14-year-old kid. He's really into video games. He's never played a video game before. And he plays Attitude and 2K16.
He's going to enjoy 2K16 way more.
And I feel like that there'd be enough of a difference that it'd be hard to put him on the same level.
So what do you want to put it as, a B? So you're saying that 2K16 is the same level as World Tour?
I mean, yes, but, like...
different reasons, maybe?
Yeah, because, I mean, World Tour is very basic. Like, there isn't a lot to it. That's why it feels kind of, fair to have World Tour and Vendetta on the same level, because, they're both pretty bare bones.
Okay.
2K is very bare bones, like any of these 2K games. They have a lot going on, so it feels like that kind of discrepancy and just like how much it has going on might be enough to kind of make up the difference.
Let's put it as a B then.
Okay.
Put it as a B. I think that's fair.
Anything else you want to change? I will give you the opportunity. I feel like we should have one level lower.
Yes, I was just gonna say that, just to put Mayhem underneath there.
What do you want to call it?
Poopy McPoop. And just Mayhem, not Attitude or whatever it was.
I don't think I can do brown. Let's see.
That's racist. Especially. Okay, good.
I mean, it's poop. All right. Oh, it didn't work. I don't know if I should be doing this
While we're streaming.
for the first time, but you know, whatever.
Oh yeah, because that's just the regular setup of what it gives you.
There we go. Let's just do it white. It doesn't even deserve a color. It's so bad.
Yeah, white is the worst color. So that's exactly where Mayhem should be.
Okay, I'm gonna crop it off.
And
like it doesn't even deserve to be seen. Like
yeah,
it's in.
I'm actually gonna while we're streaming here, I'm gonna screen capture the visual so I can retweet that later. And it doesn't even deserve to be on the screen capture.
Here, we should do a couple. Do another one. I'll just kind of like poke his head up. Just poop.
Yeah, but we lose the top one.
But you know, if you have like multiple pictures, you're it's like you're telling a story. It's almost like a comic. It's like sequential art. It's like he just kind of go, "Hey, what about me?"
Okay, got it.
Okay. All right, get out of here, Goldberg. Anything else? Anything else stand out? This feels pretty good.
I'm pretty happy with what we have, to be honest with you, and how we got here to this point. People that are watching, I really appreciate you all like giving your opinions on this stuff.
Yes. Love that.
Because it's very important. We want to know how you feel about the things that we're talking about, whether it's Legend of Zelda Wrestling Fast Food draft that we did. There's definitely some heated discussions about that.
Okay, last question.
Sure.
Are there any other wrestling games that you would have included on here? Like anything that you've played?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough because we, I mean, there's a lot of wrestling games. If it's probably the game type we played the most of. I mean, maybe first person. Even first person shooters not gonna be this many different.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, this is about the. I mean, there's obviously other wrestling games, but there is.
Yeah.
This is about the core wrestling games I would play.
Yeah. I played some of the GameCube games. Actually, I think you own them now. Like Day of Reckoning.
Day of Reckoning, damn, that's a good one.
Or like, obviously a lot of those kind of original PlayStation games, because they had the N64 exclusive ones, so they had to have PlayStation exclusive ones. And the PlayStation ones were just not good. All the SmackDown games.
Yeah, I'm so glad you didn't put any SmackDown games in this. They're so bad.
I wanted to make sure to have at least a couple of bad games, so I put some of those earlier ones, or Mayhem, but
Mayhem's the worst for sure. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna end that there. Go ahead, Phil. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're into recently before we get out of here. Now that I'm done singing and we got some viewers back.
They just had to take a break. It was a little too much. Or I like the idea these are people who hadn't watched the rest. Now they're coming in all excited, but now we're saying goodbye. Yeah, what am I into? I've been kind of getting more into screenwriting. I've been maybe into too many things. I'm having to kind of get some stuff off my plate. I have very little free time, so I think it's best to kind of focus on fewer things and put more time into them. So I got a couple of shorts I want to shoot.
Oh, nice! Oh yeah.
I'm going to be moving later this year, so I want to kind of take advantage of where I'm at now before I'm not living here anymore. So we're working on a couple of shorts right now. Once I get those done, I got a feature that I need to write. So I'm gonna ignore the rest of my hobbies. Oh, and then Emerson and I, we've been playing Age of Calamity together. We beat it a while ago. Well, I don't want to give any spoilers for the game, but there's kind of a post completion of the game kind of task for you to finish that's very emotionally tied to one of the characters. and it's been really tough trying to complete that task. And Emerson and I yesterday finally completed it. And I have never heard anyone scream so loudly and with so much joy as him just jumping up and down and punching and just, oh my God, the most like pure expression of joy I think I've ever experienced. So
I'm excited, man. I gotta get through that. Play that.
That's good. It can be a bit frustrating of a game, but you know, it's fun.
Okay. Nice.
So how about you? What are you into? And The Last of Us. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Last of Us. It's definitely turning into an event. Just waiting for it to come out and watching it with the family. This last week was pretty rough. We had a lot of people out sick from work for COVID and whatnot, and so it was a bit weird scheduling wise. But obviously, the baby Lyra is the biggest part of what I'm into. That little baby is amazing. I just recently got Constellation tattooed onto my arm. Kind of really weird because I have second skin on it right now. It's tough because I'll be carrying her and she likes to grab stuff, so she's like, let me get that tattoo and rip off the tattoo. So I gotta kind of protect it a little bit, but you know, I can't wait for how this is all gonna look when it's fully done. But family, baby, just trying to live a happier and healthier life in general. And doing the D&D, you know, creating the storytelling. Like I've been talking about this campaign for years now, and we're finally here. And this next session is like a big part of how the rest of the campaign is going to play out. Is like you interacting with the actual people in the setting is very important. So, yeah, definitely tune in tomorrow night at 9 on the Super Baka Bros channel, Neighborhood RPG. It is going to be one you're going to want to watch.
Nice. I'm excited.
Good. You better be.
I mean, I'm in it. I should be.
Yeah, you should be. So yeah, with that, I want to thank you, Phil, for taking the time and talking with me. I know it's a different day than we normally do, but it's definitely enjoy it. These like tier ranking things that we do.
Yeah, I think we've talked about having too much on our plate, but I think it's good for us to kind of still stick with these. Even when things get tough and we're busy, it's good for us to make sure we're still getting together.
Yeah, because it's always going to be that case, no matter what. So if we don't,
we're not going to be busy.
Make the time to do it, it's just period not going to happen.
Yeah.
With that, everyone that hung out with us today, super appreciative of it. We don't have an idea of what we're doing next week. We talk intentively about doing, Bowman Gaming one week and then Not Enough Time podcast on the other. Probably going to do that. I don't want to do Fortnite again. I want to do a different game if we can. Maybe GeoGuessr. It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Gotta bring back Baconly or Sims Fan 34355. I know you're watching. Speaking of which, Nardkill, thank you for the follow a couple of days ago when we were not streaming. Yes. Interesting name, and appreciate the follow. But
they hate Nards.
It's like my villain name as a child because I'd run around punching people in the Nards. I might actually take that. That actually is kind of cool.
Don't alienate our new follower like 2 seconds after they start following us.
That's just me. I created another profile just to follow.
Just to get the numbers up.
Just to get the numbers up. Yeah, totally. But no, thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll be live again tomorrow at 9. Definitely watch. And if you haven't, please try to be patient with yourself and others. It's a thing that you can do. I'm not even going to say it's a simple thing because it's really not simple. But it's a thing you can do to try to make this world a better and easier place to live in. And as always, I don't know, I didn't see Phil drink much at all while we were streaming.
Oh, I drink a ton.
Did you really?
Yeah, I finished most of this bottle of water.
Oh shit! Look at that! Look at this
cup.
Okay, I like that. Definitely always stay hydrated.
Don't come at me, bro.
Oh shit, man! All right, my bad.
Don't do it.
Not even once, as dare like to say. We will see you tomorrow night, everyone. Have a great day. You son of a bitch.